A coaching client emailed me the other day, Sarah, how on earth do people actually live on less than $2,000 a month? Is that even possible? So I sat down, I opened up my calculator, and I started mapping out a sample budget just to see what it might look like in real life. And honestly, I had to stop and double check the math. Because $1,170 a month doesn't sound like much. But when you break it down, it's barely anything, and yet millions of people are doing it right now, every single month. Not because they want to, but because they have to. When it hit me again, how upside down things have gotten, you do all the right things, make the list, stick to the plan, skip the extras, and somehow your grocery receipt still laughs in your face. And if you've been feeling like no matter how hard you try, your money's just not stretching the way that it used to, friend, I see you. Hi everybody, I'm Sarah from frozenpennies.com. I'm a financial coach, the author of Fundamentally Frugal, and someone who once cried in the middle of the dining room floor in the fetal position after they turned our electricity off for non-payment again. I've been there. I've lived through the tight months. I've rebuilt after debt, and now I help others do the same. Today we're talking about something most people avoid because it's uncomfortable and real. What it actually looks like to live under the poverty line in 2025. Not just survive, but live with a little bit of peace and dignity, even if the numbers don't make sense on paper. Now, before we begin, I need to acknowledge that I'm not in this earnings bracket anymore. So I do not know what it feels like today to be in this position. However, I can tell you that I've spoken, coached, and emailed many women who are, and I can help. If you're overwhelmed, worn out, and trying to juggle too much on too little, this is for you. Now, I'll break down what a real bare bones budget looks like, how to make tough choices without feeling like a failure, and give some alternatives for when even the affordable things are out of reach. What the poverty line looks like in real life. Let's start with the math. In 2025, the US poverty line is $15,650 a year for a single adult. That works out to about $1,170 after taxes. For a family of four, it's $32,150 a year, or around $2,400 a month. That's not some theoretical number on a government chart. That's real life for millions of people right now. And let's be honest, those numbers, they don't go far in most places, especially if you've got rent, groceries, car expenses, and maybe a teenager who thinks toothpaste grows on trees and eats so much you swear he has a tapeworm. If you're living under that income level, it's not just about budgeting anymore. It's about survival. It's about choosing which bills to pay this week and hoping nothing else breaks. But here's the thing, even in this economy, there are ways to make it work. They aren't glamorous, they won't show up on social media, but they are real and they're yours if you want them. Housing, the hardest piece of the puzzle. Let's start with the biggest expense, your home. On a poverty level income, you should be spending no more than 40% on housing. I think that ideally it should be no more than 25%, but that feels almost impossible. That means around $470 a month if you're single and about $960 for a family of four. But I don't have to tell you that most rents are way beyond that, even in the cheap areas. A one-bedroom apartment in most cities, easily $1,200. So what do you do when your budget says $470 but your rent says nice try? This is where you have to get creative and a little bit uncomfortable. That might mean moving in with family, even if you swore you'd never go back. It might mean taking on a roommate, even if you value your quiet mornings. If you're in a relationship and share custody or live part-time with your kids, it might mean downsizing to a one-bedroom and making the couch work when needed. Another option, apply for subsidized housing. Now, I know there's a stigma around it and there's a waiting list, but listen, there's no shame in using resources designed to help people get back on their feet. My mother, as a senior citizen, her apartment is subsidized. I can tell you, it is beautiful. Now, of course, it doesn't have laminate floors and it's pretty small, but it has a brand new U-shaped kitchen, a living area, a small place for a dining room, one bedroom, and a good sized bathroom. Don't sleep on subsidized housing. Look into it. It may be different where you live, but where I live, there are some very nice places. And they're 55 and over. That's literally what they're for. If you qualify, Section 8 vouchers or low-income housing programs can bridge that impossible gap between your rent and your reality. Now, if those aren't available yet, or you're on your waiting list, look into renting a room in someone's home that you know. I know it's not ideal, but a room for $400 with shared kitchen access is survivable, and it buys you breathing room. You're not failing, you're just adapting for this season. Food. Feeding yourself when every meal feels expensive. Next, we want to talk about putting food in our bellies. On a poverty level income, about 25% of your monthly budget goes toward groceries. That's roughly $290 a month for one person and around $600 a month for a family of 4. And yes, that includes everything: meals, snacks, coffee, even birthday cake. Here's the good news. This is one category where you actually have some control. You can't force your landlord to lower the rent, but you can control what ends up in your grocery cart. This is where meal planning, batch cooking, and good old-fashioned creativity come in. Focus on filling low-cost staples: rice, beans, oats, pasta, frozen veggies, eggs, canned tuna, and whatever meat is on sale. Buy in bulk when you can, even if it's just one extra bag of beans to stash away. Stretch those meals with things like lentils, cabbage, potatoes, and carrots. And if you qualify, apply for SNAP. That's what it's there for. You're not taking away from anyone else. You're feeding your family. If you have kids under 5, WIC can also help with basics like milk, cereal, and peanut butter. Who doesn't love peanut butter? If you don't qualify for benefits or they don't go far enough, check your local food banks and church pantries. Many have no income requirements, and you can also look for community fridges or food share programs in your area. This isn't about pride, it's about making it through the week. Even our little library has a program that they call Farm to Library, where once a week, local farms donate foods for anyone who wants it. Senior citizens often have tables set up in the good seasons where all extra vegetables are there for the taking. And if all else fails, get scrappy. I've stretched a $5 chicken to feed a family for 3 days. Soup is magic, leftovers are gold, and no one's judging your ramen nights. Transportation, getting around without going broke. Now, transportation takes up about 15% of a tight budget. That's about $175 for a single person, $360 for a family. But if you've got a car payment, insurance, gas, and maintenance, that number goes out the window fast. If you can, ditch the car. I know, especially in rural areas or small towns, this isn't always possible. But in cities with buses or trains, you might save a lot by selling the car and switching to public transportation, walking or biking. Look for monthly passes or discount programs for low-income riders. If you need a car, choose the cheapest one you can find that still runs. Insurance is your next big hurdle. Now, I know right now we are selling my son's car. It's a 1994 Subaru wagon. It still runs great with 188,000 miles on it. The tires are good, and it's only $500. If you need a car, choose the cheapest one you can find that still runs. Insurance is your next big hurdle. Shop around, raise your deductible, and see if you can bundle or drop coverages that you just don't need. If you can't afford repairs or gas, offer rides to others for gas money. Trade errands for help with groceries. Look for nonprofits that help single moms or low-income workers with transportation needs. They exist, but they're often local and under the radar. If all else fails, you might just have to stay home more. Now, it's not forever, but it's okay to say, not this season. Utilities, phone, internet, cut to the bone. You've got about $60 a month, if that, for phone and internet. And unfortunately, as of 2025, the Affordable Connectivity Program is gone. I know that stinks, but there are still a few ways to keep yourself connected without blowing your budget. Start with the Lifeline program. It's still active and offers free or deeply discounted phone services for low-income individuals. It won't get you the latest iPhone or unlimited data, but it will give you talk, text, and a little bit of data, enough to check email or apply for jobs. If you need internet at home and can't afford traditional services, try free Wi-Fi hotspots in your communities, libraries, fast food, restaurants, community centers, and even some schools, they offer public access. You can also ask around. Some churches and nonprofit in low-income areas offer limited internet support or old devices for families in need. And speaking of devices, don't buy a new phone unless you absolutely have to. Check buy nothing groups, ask friends, or look for refurbished models through discount programs or charities. In some areas, tax recycling programs give away older phones or tablets to people in need, especially seniors and students. Now, if you can manage $10 to $15 a month, prepaid plans like Tello, Mint Mobile, or Red Pocket can get you basic coverage. Drop the extras. If you use Wi-Fi for everything you can keep it simple. Now, it's not perfect, but staying connected is still possible and essential, even on bare bones budget. You can look into things like Verizon or AT&T for $25 a month budget plans. Health and hygiene when there's no budget for illness. About $60 of your monthly budget, if that, is left for health expenses. That's meds, copays, first aid, and anything that isn't free. It's not enough, but it's what we've got to work with. If your state expanded Medicaid, check if you qualify. If not, look into free clinics or community health centers. They often offer sliding scale prices based on income, even if you're not insured. For medications, try GoodRx. Sometimes it's cheaper than your insurance copay. Also, some grocery stores even offer common prescriptions like antibiotics for $4 or less. Look into Walmart for this. And for things like tampons, shampoo, toothpaste, dollar stores, food pantries, women's shelters, local charities, or ask for samples directly from brands. It works more often than you think. You shouldn't have to choose between Tylenol and dinner, but if you do, ask for help. You're not weak, you're resourceful. Everything else, clothing, gifts, emergencies, and the unexpected. Now, after the essentials, you've got maybe $100 left for everything else. Clothes, school supplies, socks, birthday presents, the shampoo you're out of, a flat tire. This is the part that makes most people feel like they're constantly behind. Like they're always saying no. No to their kids, no to themselves, no to life. But you can't buy your way out of it. But you can buy systems to soften it. Buy secondhand, always. Clothes, furniture, even gifts. Thrift stores, buy nothing groups, Facebook Marketplace, hand-me-downs. Embrace the swap life. Kids don't need new, they need enough. Use your local library for entertainment, free events, park days, DIY crafts, music in the parks, and movie nights. Your kids don't care if it's fancy, they care if you're there and if it's fun. And keep a little cash envelope or jar tucked away for true emergency, even if it's just $5 a month. That little buffer, it builds peace. You're not alone here, and this isn't forever. If you're in survival mode right now, I want you to hear me loud and clear. This isn't a moral failure. You're not here because you're lazy or bad with money. What this doesn't cover is any kind of debt you might have. You're going to have to finagle the numbers a little bit if you have debt payoff that you're working toward. You can still do it. You'll have to rob a few other options here in order to get that debt payoff rolling. It's probably going to take you longer, but it can be done. You're here because the math doesn't math anymore, and you're doing your best with what you've got. Living in poverty in 2025 is brutal, but you are not broken. You're resourceful, you're determined, and you're far more powerful than your paycheck suggests. So give yourself some grace. Use what's available. Be creative. Accept help. And most importantly, just keep going. You won't be here forever, but even if you are for a little while, there's still beauty, there's still dignity, and there's still hope. If this video helped you feel a little bit more seen, go ahead and subscribe. You can always grab my free downloadable budget planner to help you track what you need. The link is in the description below. If you've got a survival tip of your own, drop it in the comments. Someone else might need it today. Hang in there, you're doing better than you think. And if this video spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and watch this video next.